Good afternoon, good evening, or maybe good night, depending on where you are located. Thank you for joining us for this amazing presentation. My name is Olivier Segura. I am the Gemmologist and Scientific Director for l'École School of Jewelry Art. And I am this afternoon with Diren Ramsamy, who is a diamond cutter, diamantaire, and we will talk together about these wonderful skills to cut the diamonds. Before starting, I think you already discover our moderator. They are online with you. We have Alice from Hong Kong, and we have Ghislain, who is in Paris. And they will answer your questions. If you have, don't hesitate to ask all your questions. And I don't forget Mina. She's live from Shanghai, live on WeChat. So if you have any question, please don't hesitate. They can answer some of your questions. And at the end, we will answer maybe the most tricky question. So we are here at l'École School of Jewelry Art in Paris in our facilities or classroom dedicated to the lacquerware classes, courses. And we hope to have you very soon in Paris all together in our class. Today we are talking about something very interesting, very maybe secretive, which is the diamond cutting. I am quite very happy to have you here, dear Diren, to talk about this skill, your art of diamond cutting. When we prepared this talk, I discovered so many interesting points I didn't know, or maybe you saw our students just behind me. So it's the end of the class. So, dear Diren, maybe my first question before starting our presentations: how did you become diamond cutter?
So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Diren Ramsamy. I'm from Mauritius, where I used to work in a diamond factory, a Belgian diamond factory, where I learned how to cut rough diamonds, especially round stones. And then I came to France in the year 2000, where I joined the Rubel Ménasché house, which about 23 years now. So in 2006, my boss decided to have a workshop to cut diamonds, and now I'm another diamond cutting.
Yes, you have a large, let's say, workshop, working on diamond cutting, and we will see some images very, very soon. So, starting talking about the rough diamonds. Oh, I don't have. Yes, sorry. My 3 points. We developed this conversation in three main parts. First, talking about the rough diamond. What is the diamonds? What are the properties? What diamonds come from? And that's, of course, very important for you to understand, and you will tell us how you read or you understand this material, this rough material. Then we will have a part talking about the tools and the cutting steps, and you see already we have a few tools here, so we will talk about all your environment. And of course, we will talk about your job every day, because it's not only cutting the diamond, but it's all a matter also of a relationship with your client. So starting with the first point, maybe many of you knows already what is a diamond. So of course, a diamond is a material, a mineral composed only by carbon atoms. You see here on the left some animation, some video, some pictures about this molecule of diamond, which is the combination of all the carbon atoms, and you see they are bound by a very tough bond, which is a covalent bonding, very, very tough in nature, in material. And you see, if we can go very, very, very close to the atoms, you see all the atoms are in the shape of a cube. And that explains why, when you have, for example, here on your right, a picture of rough diamonds, the same you can find in nature, in the diamond mines, you can find this very particular shape. That's the main shape used for diamond cutting. We'll talk about this just after, which is called an octahedron. This octahedron is a double pyramid linked by a square base. And you see here, it's thanks to the picture from Rubel Ménasché. So thank you again for all this wonderful picture you will see tonight. And we will discuss about the rough just after. We wanted also to give you some information about the properties of diamond, because they will change, of course, the way you cut the mineral, the diamond. Maybe you know that the diamond is the hardest material on Earth. The hardness is 10 on the Mohs scale. So there's a very specific scale talking about the hardness. So the hardness is the resistance to the scratch. So it means only a diamond can scratch a diamond. And that's very important to not to do the difference with the resistance to the break. Because the diamond is very, very resistant to the scratch, but is not so resistant to the break. It means, you see here on the screen, it's only a medium resistance. And of course, if you hit a diamond on a very specific plane, you can break the diamond in two parts. We call it a cleavage. And that's important because sometimes we think that the same thing is very hard, so you cannot break it, but that's not the case. And of course, you can break it, and of course, you can scratch it, and that's why you can cut and polish a diamond. The resistance to acid is quite good, and here you have also some figures about the specific gravity, refractive index, dispersion, and these numbers are very important for the diamond cutter because they are all related, they are all linked to the optical properties. So it means the way the light will react, will interact with the matter. So of course, when you cut a diamond, and you will teach us, you will show us, that's not by hazard, that's very specific, and because of these optical properties. And we have on the right also, you see some very interesting pictures of the rough. Again, we will talk about it just after. In the next slide, I wanted to introduce you to the grading system. This grading system is really important because you will, thanks to this system developed by the GIA, understand and grade and give a price to your diamond. This grading system is named the 4 C's because each grade starts with the letter C. For example, the carat, which is the weight. 1 carat is 0.2 gram. And of course, more the diamond is has weight, the more it is expensive. Another important scale is the color. So here we have a color for the colorless to near colorless diamond, which is from the letter D, the best, the most colorless, in fact, to the letter Z. So that's important, of course. So more you are close from the D, the more your diamond is colorless, so expensive. Next scale is, for example, the clarity. Clarity is the number of inclusion inside the diamond. If you have a lot of inclusion, of course, it's not very interesting, it's not very expensive. And if you have flawless, meaning with no flaws, with no inclusion visible with your 10x loop, of course, it's the most pure diamond, it's the most expensive diamond. So these 3 grades are all due to nature. Human cannot do anything. But for the 4th C, which is the cut, of course, you have the human intervention. And here, for the cut, it is your part. You are the diamond cutter. And maybe as a gemologist, I was not, when I start in my studies, I was not so aware about the cut. I thought it was not so important. because we were used to look at the finished product. So we look for the color, for the clarity. We learn how to grade the diamond. But slowly, I have to say that working for a jewelry house, I start to look for the jewelry pieces. And you can see that some jewels are well matched, and some other diamonds are not so well matched because of the cut. And that's really all your art. So now you know the diamonds. I think you knew before a lot about the diamonds. Let's see from the rough how you can, Diren, how you can read or you can understand what are you doing when you receive this rough. And again, sorry, just thank you so much for these pictures, because that's very rare to see a rough diamond. So, Diren, when you have these diamonds, what to do?
When you have lots of diamonds like this, you must first of all assort them. It's been sorting the shape, the weight, and the form of the rough stones.
Color.
As you can see the color also. You can see in this image we have different colors of rough stone, different shape of rough stone. We have bakeable, we have sewable. So what is sewable, what is makeable? Sewable are stones that you explained earlier with two pyramids on the octahedral shape that we can sew into two parts and have two stones in this. But on makeables like this, we don't have, we cannot sew the stone. It's not sewable. So we have to use it as it is. As an example, the triangle, you can see a triangle form of rough. So we can either make triangles, or troidias. And also we have some colored rough. So we can make a fancy color, or there are some people specialized in that kind of diamond cutting. That is not my job. It is only their job. They have their eye to keep the color of the rough, like green, yellow, or blue.
Thank you. We have another picture here, very interesting, because it's a parcel, maybe like at the end of the day in the mine, you have all these different qualities of diamonds. And again, that's to me, that's really quite rare to see all this diversity of shape, of colors, of some are very, very colorless. And maybe you think you can imagine you can have a wonderful diamond, cut diamond inside. But Diren, what about the yellow or the black? Can you use this black to cut?
Yes, it is being used not for jewelry or whatever. It is used in industrial or to make powders.
Powders, okay.
So the powders, I will tell you later what is the purpose of the powders, what is the necessity of this powder, and we can see that there are many kinds of shape of rough stones. So now you can choose whatever you want to do with each of these rough.
Yeah, some are very transparent, some are quite opaque.
Some opaque, yeah. These who are opaque, this stone is not, we can't do anything with it unless make powders.
And here again, thank you. A wonderful picture. You highlight two very specific diamonds to explain also the macle. I think you talk about the macle.
Yeah, the macle. Yeah, the macle is a stone with two or several type of crystal which come together during the crystallization.
Yes, they are intertwined, so there is a very specific hardness inside.
Hardness. It is very, very difficult to cut these kind of stones because they are not, you know, when you cut diamonds, there are a way to cut the stone. There is a direction, like we say. So in this kind of stones, there is not only one direction. There are many directions to make one facet.
Okay, so the macle is on the left here.
On the left, and on the right, it is a sewable stone that you can see the direction on the stone. It is like a cross. We can see a cross on the top of the stone.
Ah, okay. No, I cannot see, but now I understand. Okay, yes. The point here.
The point here, and then it make a cross. So this is a direction of the cut.
So it gives you, to have the rough in hand, it gives you a lot of information.
A lot of information before you start.
Yes, the way you will
Start
cut
or, yeah.
and cut and start the diamond.
diamond.
So now you have your rough diamonds. Let's go inside your workshop to see here. Thanks again for this amazing picture. We are really on your seat
Yeah.
in your office with all your tools. This is what you see. So we have to say, maybe before you explain us all your tools, that you are not working in the mountain.
No, this is a background picture, so that you don't have your face in the wall every day. So
Yes,
I
you have
must,
a live
yeah,
drawing and
drawing,
picture.
and I must thank my boss that he invests a lot in like as you see, this is my working place. This is what we call a high class table to work, where we have a slider on your left, the plate with a steel plate.
There's a metallic
The
here,
metallic
yes.
steel plate, it's called a slider.
Yes,
And then
more
we have the
the
skive, as we call.
Yes.
The skive is
rotating.
the rotating disc.
Okay.
In diamond language, we say skive. So the plate comes to us rough. It is a steel plate.
Yes.
It comes rough to us. So we have many tang, like we call here. And then on this tang, we have several dopes. Each tang is been set with a special dope to cut every single part of the diamonds.
So we will see just after, but the
After,
dop is the
yeah.
part which holds
by
the diamond.
diamond.
Okay.
So I will come back on the skive, on the plate.
Yes.
So the plate is a steel plate who arrives rough to our workshop. And then on that, you see now it is black. How it become black? Because I talked earlier about diamond powders. So we use the cut diamonds.
Yes.
So we need diamond powder, which we mixed with olive oil and a product that we call diamond blue. We make a paste of it, and then we apply that paste on the disc well with our fingers, and then we take a industrial rough, which is not used for jewelry or whatever.
Okay, the black we
The
saw
black one
already.
or the one who is opaque or milky. So we come and burn this powder that it becomes black, and the sky become like a mirror.
How can you burn? You rotate very very fast?
We push harder on the
Okay.
on the sky on the thing,
Yeah.
and then the rough become red to
Okay.
burn the powder. We can push on the stone only if we do this operation, not for cutting diamonds.
Yes. So when cutting is very slow, but here you can go.
You can
very
go
hard.
to harder to burn this powder, that it becomes black and like a mirror. Like we can see the reflection on on this image.
So it means all your diamond powder is sticked on
It's
the
stick-
on
yeah,
the dog, so you
that's-
cannot see. It's
Yeah.
very you cannot see it.
We cannot see it. It's very
Very small,
small, microscopic,
like dust.
like dust, like flour,
The pollen.
farine.
Flour. Yeah, yes. Okay, so here you are ready. You can start.
Now I can start working.
You can start working, and we can see here one image, of course, with the dope and the tool,
Yeah.
just with the diamonds, with the rotating disc. This is how it works.
Yeah.
But you have also very important tools
Yeah.
here on the left.
On the left, we need 3 important tools. Now you can see the leverage on the left-hand side that we use to measure the stone before cutting. Very important, you must measure each stone before you cut your stone. And a very important thing, a loop, 10 times loop that we need to see whatever we are going to cut or doing with the rough. And on the right-hand side, you can see what I told you earlier about the dope. You can see the dope with 2 claws that stick the stone, so it maintains the stone on the dope, that we can cut every facet on the disc.
Yes, also just to come back to the loop, that's a normal loop. You don't have specific
No,
glasses.
it's a normal 10 times
the classic
lens,
Gemologist jewelry loop.
A classic one,
10
times.
10 times magnifier. You find it everywhere. So on the next slide, we have a closer look at what is called the DOP, so the part which hold. And I was a bit impressed when we discussed about this topic, because I know a little about the color stone cutting. We have a class here at l'école, so I saw our students, and I did it myself, trying to cut the stone. And we have only one tool, one DOP, and we don't change depending the size, depending the shape you want to cut. But for you, you have many different DOP. You can see here two on the screen.
Yes, because there are so much operation on a. For example, the left-hand side, this one is to cut baguettes or emeralds.
Okay.
So on this platform, you put your stone table down and bottom side up. So the claws become on the bottom side to fix the stone, and then with a screw, you
fix it very
tight, so that the stone don't move while cutting, because the scythe, it turns about 3,000 times a minute.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Much more than for color stone.
Imagine if a stone just to slit on the scythe,
yes, if it's not well maintained, of course you can lose.
You can lose your stone.
Does it arrive sometime?
Sometimes it happens to arrive, but we search for it. We look for it. So on this picture, you can see that it is a press pot. This is a special tools for cutting the pavilions of the round stones.
Okay. So we will see just after. In this way, you have like a screw maintaining the diamond very tight here. And on the next slide, you have again different kind of
DOPs. Different kind of DOPs. The first one on the left, we have a DOP to polish this one, to polish every pavilions of any shape.
Okay.
Either piers, marquees, ovals, or whatever. This DOP is for every stone. We make the crown, how we say, the bezels, the crown of any stones.
The upper part. We will talk about
upper part of each stone.
Okay.
And this one is only, as you can see, is only for baguettes.
Yes,
or very rectangular
long,
size.
Rectangular.
So it is used to polish the table of every rectangular stones.
Yeah, so a lot of materials. That's what we say on your table.
Yeah.
You have a lot of...
Each operation need a special DOP.
Okay, yeah, so you change every time. That's why it's not glued.
Yeah.
Like, for example, for color stone, it sticks. You cannot change.
Yeah.
Here you have to change
you have
to
to
adapt.
change for each operation.
So we will see the different operation just after. But before you talk about the table, you talk about the crown, the pavilion, we have to say that for your colleague, for the diamantaire, you need to understand and to talk about to understand what is the different facets, to talk about the same thing.
The same language.
That's why every facet has a name,
yes.
a very specific name. So we have a presentation here for a few of them. The table, which is the main facet, the larger one at the top of the stone. When we look from the side, you have three parts. Upper part, which is the crown, the girdle in the middle, and the pavilion at the bottom
side. Yeah.
Yes, and you see here, every facet has really the name. So when you talk, you say, yes, the lower girdle facet is not exactly blah, blah, so you
polish or not equal at his neighbor.
You can understand.
You can understand. We should speak the same language to understand each other.
And we talk about also, you talk about the cutting style. For cutting style, we have two main cutting style. Which is, for example, the round here, which has all the facets are triangular or kite shape. So it means a brilliant cut. So you can do round, brilliant. You can do cushion, brilliant. You can do oval, brilliant, pear, etc. Brilliant. Brilliant means it's triangular or kite-shaped facet. You see here, for example, for the Asher or for the emerald, you have very long facets, which calls this cut the step cut. Step cut, all the facets are very long, rectangular. For example, Asher is a step cut style, emerald. And maybe you saw the princess and the radiant. You have both kind of facets. Some are triangular or kite, and some are very long. So it's called a mixed cut. Okay. So with all these patterns, all this cutting style, now you know what to do inside your diamonds. But in fact, are you free to do what you want in your diamond? How can you start before cutting? You have a rough diamond. So how do you know what to cut so, inside?
So we must study our rough stone before we put it on the sky. So we don't take a rough stone and we do whatever we want, and then we have so many regrets. We say, what am I doing? I am spoiling my rough. So to prevent this kind of accident, nowadays we have some technology nowadays we have technology, and there are some people who are personalized like this, specialized in that kind of studying the rough stone. As we can see on the left hand side, the sarin machine can read every single inclusion in the stone.
So it's like a scanner.
A scanner who will scan the stone, inside the stone, who will see where the inclusions are, and then they will give you some information. What they can do, what we can do in this rough.
The best proposal.
The best proposal for the market, for the price, for the valuable stone.
In terms of value.
Value that you can get for your rough stone, that it is much more valuable for you. And then you are free to do whatever you want after that. So it gives you information, and you see the yellow lines. There they will come to sew the stone. Like I said earlier, sewable. So we will sew here on the lines to remove the rough, and then after that you can do what they give you come proposes.
Exactly. So here, for example, in the center, they propose to have three different diamonds. So you cut
these
in three parts, and then these three parts you cut to have the larger with less inclusion. Maybe we see here on the right this green yellow part. It's a large inclusion. Maybe you want to avoid
this
to have a more better clarity.
Better clarity. The purest.
And all the inclusion in the center here are removed.
They will be removed.
So that's really a great help. I saw it in a diamond bourse. So you have some dealers, they come with the roughs, they put it inside the machine, and in few seconds, they have a good idea. So it's a good way to have an idea of the price you can have from the cut stone, from this rough. So when you studied your rough, you have an idea now. You know.
So you have an idea what to do, and then your stone has been cut into three parts. Okay.
You can start.
Now we can start.
But if you want to cut, for example, an emerald cut, you can decide to have different way to cut your facets. So that's why you invented at Rubel Ménasché this tool. This picture here is really so it's in French because it is your document. You work with it every day.
Every day. So this scale, as you see, it has been studied for months. We can say that I am cutting a diamond, a stone, a baguette, an emerald. So what we are searching here is the best brightness of the stone. So the best brightness of the stone, it means everything is very important. The number of facets you made on it, and the angles that you are going to cut the step cut. Here it is a step cut. So we must study the length of the, we see in here in the culasse, you see the
pavilion,
length,
yeah.
the pavilions, the total depth, everything is being calculated to have the best shining of the stone, the best brightness of the stone.
So it means depending on your workshop, on your company, maybe the baguettes are not the same, exactly the same, if it is a baguette we bought at your company or a baguette we bought in another company.
Yes, as I told you earlier, you can do whatever you want. If you see that this baguette that you are made, it is good for you. It's your opinion. But me, in my workshop, I want to give the best of the stone, the best brightness, the best valuable of this stone.
Don't worry, I trust you.
So we can say this baguette is not from my workshop.
Okay, and even you told me previously that maybe sometime you can recognize a baguette cut by yourself or by your colleague just
among colleagues,
close to you.
Each person has his personality on the stone.
Even with this document.
But the result is the same at the end. So unless when sometimes you have some, even if we are men, we have some femininity in this kind of work. So we do tiny facets. So it brings some femininity in the
so sensuality, something more.
Sometimes people will make big facets. I don't like big facets. It's too. It's not good. It's not pretty.
Let's see on the next slides what are the different steps to cut a diamond, and we see here a picture. You are preparing the rough diamond. So here is a rough, just hold by this very specific dop.
Yeah. Here, before I put the stone on this dop, I measure. I take my rough. I study my rough. I take 10 or 15 minutes to study well my rough. I took a leverage, a measuring tool, to measure the stone to have the largest diameter of this stone. And then with a pencil, I come to mark the stone where I am putting the diameter, the roundest, I will say earlier.
The girdle, yes.
The girdle. And then I will study where it is flat and where it is steep. To have an idea where I am going to put the table and the pavilions. So when this study has been made, I will fix it on my dop, and then I will come to make the table first. So why we made the table first? Because everything departs from the table. Everything goes here to make the crown symmetric with the table, and the pavilion will be symmetric with the table.
And centered if you have a round, etc.
Yeah.
So first step, the main
facet is the table facet. And then you see, I made the table, and then the table is going in the pots here. The press pot, the table is down the pot. And then what we see here, we're going to make the pavilions. The pavilions. So after making the pavilion, I will make a, like we say, temporary pavilions.
Okay.
Not definite. It is not definitely pavilion. Temporary, because I am going to make the roundist with
the girdle, yes.
The girdle with a USNC machine.
Okay, we saw just after this very specific machine. Here is not on the scale.
No.
It's a different tool.
Different tools that we come to give this machine every information. Not definitely, because you know when we cut a rough, we should leave some witness on the so that
on the girdle.
Or the girdle.
Like a testimony of the
testimony, so that we don't have to go too far, because every thing that gone will not come back.
It disappear. Lost.
So after giving all the information at the machine, I press the start button.
Okay, it's an automatic machine.
The automatic machine. You can see this spin will come at the
yes, the wheel.
The wheel will come, and then we'll brood this rough.
We'll cut slowly,
and we'll make a temporary roundist.
Girdle, yes, and that's why after you will cut all your facets.
All my facet will be cut on the skive. I will polish the girdle, and then now you can see the finishing polish. Here we are finishing the diamond to make the pavilions and another kind of dupe.
So here we have a very quite perfect round, brilliant
stone.
Diamonds here. Every time you look, we have just after a small movies. We went to your workshop, and we have some images, and I was very stunned that every time you look, you use your scalp, you cut your facet, but every few seconds
we should check.
Every time you check. Maybe you spend more time checking, looking through the loop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't talk about that to your boss. So let's see this short movie. Maybe we can have some word. I hope everything will have a good looking for this video, for this movie, where we see the size, a very teeny, small size. Maybe you ask yourself behind the screen, what are the size you can...
if it is possible to take so small stones.
So small diamonds. Okay. We have then the part where we are inside your office. There is many operations of checking. Here we have a very specific gesture. We will talk about this just after. That's quite interesting. This is the size for the diamond, very small. Here they are not very small.
Yeah.
Here we are very checking. We are fixing the diamond. A few seconds, and then you check. Very fast. You change the angles. That's very small. Even we cannot see the diamond. Measuring and measuring, checking. Very small. We will talk about the project just after, so maybe you have to cut the same diamonds in different times. So you see here, your colleague is checking, very fine. Again, this very specific
gesture.
Yeah, we will. You have to explain us what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, large diamonds. Very small diamond. Here we have a large batch of diamonds. So, Diren, when I went to your workshop, I saw sometimes you do like
My
this.
My finger like this.
Yes.
So
what it is? What are you doing?
What is this operation? This when you cut diamonds, the powders go around the skive and come back under the stone. So it makes polishing line on your diamonds. Okay. On your facet, the facet that you're working, you have polishing line. So what I do, I put baby oil on my finger, and then I scratch it like this on the skive. So it prevents the powder to go around and come back. So
it blocks
the powder here, and you have a very nice polish on your facet.
Okay, so that's the way, because I thought, or somebody told me previously, that this powder stay on the scalp and was used to polish. So again, the diamond, but that's not the case. In fact,
that's the case.
This powder is lost.
Yeah, every time you put your stone, the powder it goes away.
Okay, so that's why you have to prepare your scalp, and maybe you add some powder diamond.
More.
But it's not the powder you remove from the cutting diamond is not used.
It's not usable.
No, but with your finger, you remove it. To avoid the polish line. We will talk about the polish line just after. When your diamond is cut, of course, it could have a good cut or a bad cut. Yeah. And here we have an example of, on your right, with 3 round, faceted, brilliant cut diamonds. But of course, they are not the same. Maybe you prefer one, maybe there is one you don't like. I selected mine. I prefer the one on the left.
Me too.
You too. But what happened? What is the difference between these three diamonds?
Yes, the difference here is, to have what I told earlier with the baguettes, we work to have the best brightness in the stones. So what had happened here, the first one is a perfect cut with correct proportions. And the second one, as you can see, it's a flat stone. Okay. What is happening here? Yeah, it's a flat stone, so the rough is flat. So unless you do a smaller diameter stone to have a better proportion, or you decided to, it's my rough, I decide to make a flat stone.
Right. So, to save weight.
To have the weight, and so it will not cost much as the left hand one, because it is not the stone as we call here in our workshop. It's a dead stone.
Okay.
It don't have life. It don't have expression. And the third one is a steep one. It's too deep. Now here also, as you can see, the diameter is less than the other one, but it has the same weight. What's happening? We have cut the stone to have the maximum weight. Here also, as you can see, light enters the diamonds and get back, and reflects back, so that gives the lights. And the two other parts, the two other stones, the light gets in but don't get out.
Exactly.
It becomes like a jailer inside the stone.
Inside the material. That's why when you have your rough, you select which one of the four C's you have to develop, to enhance. That's why if you want to have a better C for carat, maybe you won't have a good C for cut. Because here we can see this example here. But when you cut, also you can have problems for proportion, but also here some problems for polishing.
Polishing, yeah. On the left hand side, we can see the birding. We call this birding. Yes, the stone has been scratched. Like, this is because your material is not well prepared. Okay. On your skype, there is either you have not much powder or too much.
Okay.
This is why this problem. When you have too much powder, the powder will do that kind of scratch.
Scratches, yes.
Yeah, it's like an abrasion, as we say, like an abrasion. So we must well prepare our disc. If you have not enough powder on your scarf, you must put some and you re-prepare your disc. On this second one, you have polishing line. I explained earlier. The polishing line is that when you don't put your finger on the scarf, that's what you get from result.
Yes, some grains of diamonds will scratch. Rotating.
You see the straight lines like this, so that the powder, I told you, it turns 3,000 times in a minute, so that it goes very, very quick. And on the third one, we can see that it's a burnt stone. Why this stone has been burnt? Because we have pushed too much weight on the tank, so that the stone has been heated too much. That's why it's been burned. And when the stone is burned, it's like a cloudy stone or milky. So we must repolish all these facets to have a good stone.
Great. So when you have this stone in hand, you need to work more, and of course that's more and more cost for this.
Yeah. When you polish the stone, it becomes smaller. So smaller it is, less you will get. It's less valuable.
And a great part of your job is to maximize the value of the diamond by your skill, by cutting the diamond on the best way as possible, but it's also to have a close relationship, and that's really specific to your job here in Paris, because we have a lot of factories cutting diamonds, preparing the diamond from the rough, but your very specific skill is to prepare diamonds very specifically for some project.
Yeah.
Because we know many designers, they prepare the diamonds, they prepare the design, and they just use a pen, and after they will buy or they will cut on demand, on special order, all the diamonds they need to fill all this drawing.
Yeah.
And when we see this wonderful drawing here by the Maison Van Cleef & Arpels, we see on some parts very specific design. So for them, that's quite easy to draw, just using one pencil. But after, you need, of course, you cannot find this very specific baguette, but in very strange shape. You cannot find it like this on the market. So this is your very specific part.
This is a special part of this of diamond cutting. When we get this kind of project, we must come here to see our client, to exchange with a setter, with a designer, with a jeweler. So we exchange a lot of time before starting to cut this kind of stone. We must understand what he expects from me to do on this kind of project. So after these exchanges, we sometimes he don't agree with me, sometimes I don't agree with him. At the end, we both agree with some or other kind of stone that he need on this kind of project.
And after you start cutting, and here we have the piece, the finishing piece, or not totally finished, but we have all the baguette here. So this is the part you see in the center with the round on the right, but all the baguette you cut in this very specific round shape.
A specific type of cut. As you can see, all the table must be the same. You don't have a small, a big, a small, a big, and every stone must be cut and settled here properly, not long, not too short. It must be in harmony, as we say. It must be every bottom side must be the same length, so that we have an harmony on. It must be beautiful when you see it. It must be very beautiful.
That's what I discovered when I work for high jewelry. It's really the precision and the very specific skills developed just for us to don't see nothing, in fact, because there is the play of the light, the interaction of the light with the diamond. In fact, we see something very smooth, but that's really a huge work for you. And here we have different examples of this part. You see the drawing on the left, on this piece on the right, and all the diamonds, this is the curved, doing all
around the main part.
All around the diamonds, and all are cut and faceted very specifically for this piece.
Yeah, as you can see, if you can see closer, on the bottom here, on the bottom side, you can see that the stone are like steps. Like staircase, you can see they are like staircase. So it is a very special kind of diamond cutting. So we need to cut the stone this way because the metal is turning like this. No, so the diamonds can't be turned.
No.
It is stay straight. So we should find a way that we cut the stone that we don't see the metal through, because if there are staircase like this, we can see through the metal bottom side. So we leave the girdle a bit thicker, so that we can see inside. So it prevents us to see the metal.
So that's really a close relationship with the clients, with the setter here, with the jeweler. We realize the metal part.
We made 2 or 3 stones each time, and then we check with the setter. If he is agree, we continue. If he don't, we change the.
So 3, 4 stones
each time, 3 or 4 stones.
Slowly. So that's a very long project.
It takes a long time to do such projects.
So for our next slide, we cannot show all the star wearing all your diamonds you cut because we don't have the right, but we can talk about this very specific piece you realize for the Maison Van Cleef & Arpels, which is maybe amongst one of the most difficult and the most amazing diamond cutting style, because here there is no metal in the center part to hold. We don't see the metal to hold all these diamonds.
Yeah, as you can see on this beautiful pine cone jewel, you have a marquise, and we don't see any metal. So how these stones stick on this piece?
So, good question.
Good question. We have been working for about 1 year, I think, with Van Cleef & Arpels and Rubel Ménasché. So we work together to see how we can cut these stones and how we'll fix the stone. So we buy classical stone, standard marquise, and then we recut them. We recut them a bit flat. So we come to make a slit on both sides of the marquise, and then the jewel make two metals like rails, and then the stone slide in the stone. And each stone is fixed with another stone, as you can see. And at the end only, we put some metal
to keep everything close. Yes, great. Thank you so much, Diren, to explain us how you work and what is your relationship with the client, with the customer. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Before asking or taking all your questions, just one slide to present you the next conversation, which will occur in September 21 and 22 in French, and then in English with a translation. Thanks here again for all the translation. I hope it was clear for you. Don't hesitate to ask our questions. So we will have Laurent Massy, she's a doctor, very specialist, great specialist on corundum, sapphires, ruby, with Marie-Laure Cassius-Duranton, who is our teacher, friend, teacher, researcher working here at l'école. So they will discuss about sapphire and the art and science part. So, dear Diren, thank you again. I think we have a lot of questions. I take my phone here. We have Ghislain, we have Alice, we have Mina, with all your questions. So I will, thank you very much for all your comments, your nice comments, and all your questions. We'll start with a few questions. So, please, dear Diren, could you tell us the material of the rotating disc for cutting diamonds?
It's made of steel.
Steel?
Yeah.
So classical nothing steel. Specific? Nothing.
Some kind of scarf have been made with diamond. Some part of diamonds have been in...
you can buy it with the diamond already fixed?
Yeah. But this kind of scarf is too aggressive to cut baguettes as we do on our workshop. But it is made for bigger rough.
Okay.
As I told you earlier, macle.
Yes, because the macle are very hard.
Yeah, or nut stone also.
Nut
stone.
Thank you. So after cutting the rough diamonds, do you use the rest of them for melee or something else?
Yeah. Some people can make small triangles or small brilliants. Okay,
so when you cut some very small parts, you can still
use it with inclusion.
Okay. When you cut the diamonds, good question. Does diamond smell?
No, it is not. No smelly diamond.
No.
No.
There is nothing special.
Not a special.
Like when we cut.
Fragrance. No.
Okay. So, are the Asha cut less common because they are more challenging to make?
No, Asha cut is not challenging. It's a square with the corner.
Okay. So is there some cut more difficult to do, or is the same thing for you?
It depends for, me, I love challenge. More difficult
you prefer strange
yeah,
cut
more difficult it is, For me, it's a pleasure to work on it. It depends on each person who work on. Some will tell you, this pier is difficult or this is difficult. No, I prefer everything.
And you prefer large, small? Is it more difficult to do small because very small? Or?
Yeah, the smaller I do is 0.001 carat.
Oh
so you see, it's a sugar.
Like a grain of sand or
salt.
sugar
Yeah,
or salt.
yeah.
Very, very small. Is it possible to cut a diamond by only a machine without the help of the human expertise?
This don't exist nowadays. It exists some kind of cutting with laser.
Okay. Yeah.
So it will burn the stone. The stone will become black. So who will polish this?
At the end, you need someone to polish.
You need men to polish the stone.
So do you think maybe we can imagine with the development of technology?
No, 30 years earlier in Mauritius, they bring a machine who cut 8 round brilliant per hour.
Okay.
So if a man-made is 1 week,
Okay.
per hour the machine do 8 stones. So, but it don't polish.
So at the end, you
need have some.
So I think that's a good thing. But is it? I just have a question. What does burnt stone means? You talk about milky, cloudy.
Yeah.
Therefore, requires more polishing and more loss of materials.
Yeah.
Maybe you can reprecise. You can explain what means really cloudy. If you want, maybe I can explain because scientifically speaking, on my point of view, on my part, when you burn the stone, it means that some atoms are removed from the surface. Because carbon, they are carbon atoms, so they will link with the oxygen from the air, and carbon plus oxygen, it means dioxide carbon, so gas. So it means some atoms from the surface are removed, so it means the surface is not very clean, very great polish, so you have like a depolished surface, so that's why it appears unpolished, depolished, so it appears a bit milky, whitish. So this is what happened really on an atomic point of view. But with this burned stone, at the end you need to repolish.
Yeah.
And of course you will repolish not only one facet.
Each facet.
Every facet to have the perfect proportion and
proportion.
symmetry for everything. When the design requires specifically cut diamond, is the setting of the jewelry made first, then the diamonds are cut to fit, or the other way?
It depends. Imagine you in your stock you have a triangle, so you won't recut the stone. You will ask your jeweler to make the jewel to fit the stone. But sometimes, this is sometimes, but usually the design has been made and I adapt my stone.
Yeah, I think for high jewelry with specific order, specific design,
you need to recut everything.
You need to do your diamond very not for the round. The round you
no
can
round stone. The hole has been made.
Yes, previously, etc. So maybe a last question here, final ones. Conclusion. Thank you. It's time to conclude. What was your most exciting job or project, maybe as a diamond cutter?
I don't know if I have the right to say.
So maybe we cannot talk about this. So.
But I have great pleasure. Each stone, it's a great pleasure for me.
Maybe I add the last one because it's quite interesting. How can we get a job in the diamond cutting industry? Because there is no school.
There's no school. You can, of course.
You can, but you learn.
I will teach you.
You will. So we can send you an email. Maybe you will receive thousands and thousands of emails to work with you. Yes, one interesting last question because we have 1 minute. Sorry. How long does it take to cut a brilliant cut diamond?
So long time. Long times mean 1 week. It depends who, because it must go very quickly in your head to study the stone, to know where you put. Sometimes you start and then you don't know how to finish it. You are trapped with your stone. So It depends. It depends of the person, the skill of the person.
And depend on the rough, depend on
the
the
rough.
skill. So.
Sometimes I have been made a table for 1 week, only polishing
only
the
the
table
table.
because it was a maclay stone.
So from few hours to
No
limit.
No limit.
Thank you so much, Diren, for
Great pleasure.
For your comments. Thank you all for your comments, for your attention. I'm sure it was quite interesting for all of us. I give you next meeting for next conference in September. Thank you so much. See you soon, and
Bye bye.
bye bye. Thank you, Diren.